I think it was hard, but mostly I think it's hard for my mom because it was her loved one, and at the end they did not end up in a relationship. So for me, when I grew up seeing that, it was like a heartbroken, where I also feel like, oh, if I have my own husband in the future, will I end up like that or not? So I always grow up feeling like, oh, I'm so afraid like being in a relationship.
Welcome to the ICF Cambodia podcast. Today, I have Sombo here with me, and we're going to dive into her story. Sombo, thank you for being here because people want to learn about your story, about your history, about how you grew up, and how did you get to know Jesus, and also what do you see in your future. So let's start in the very beginning. Tell us about your mom and dad, your siblings. What was the family situation like when you grew up as a kid?
So I grew up in a family of 5 members. So my parents, and I have 3 sisters, so including me, so all 3. And I myself have twin to the youngest one. So we live in Siem Reap. So Siem Reap is our hometown. It's where I was born. So when you ask about the situation in my family, how I grew up, so I am thinking about, because when I look back, I felt so blessed because I think in my family, education was a huge thing that my family always value of.
Important for your parents.
Yes, so for my parents, they always really invested in us. They invested like financially so that support us so that we can go to school and study.
Did you like to go to school when you were a kid?
Of course, I do. Yeah, and I think it's also a very good thing that when I was kid, I don't have to care much about have to earn income to get salary to go to school. But there were like times where my family always provided me, so because they want to make sure that I have a bright future and that I can invest in my future more. Yeah.
So compared to the other people or kids that you grew up, they were struggling a lot more because their parents did not value school. And how did that make you feel that you were living with parents that encouraged you to go to school?
For me, it feels blessed, actually, to be honest, because when I look around at other people, they really struggle, and I cannot imagine if I could live a life like them, that they really don't have enough supporter to support them to go to school. But for me, I feel so blessed, and I cannot say enough that they really encourage education a lot in our families. So.
That's maybe why you are so smart today.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your parents some more.
Yeah.
Are your parents still alive now?
Yeah, my parents they still alive. They're living. But currently they don't live together anymore. They kind of separate, since the relationship does not go right. Yeah.
How long ago did they separate?
I think they separate very long, since I think right after I got into university, so they start to live separately, yeah.
How was that situation? How did you handle that?
I think it was hard, but mostly I think it's hard for my mom because it was her loved one, and at the end they did not end up in a relationship. So for me, when I grew up seeing that, it was like a heartbroken, where I also feel like, oh, if I have my own husband in the future, will I end up like that or not? So I always grow up feeling like, oh, I'm so afraid being in a relationship, so yeah.
And it was at the same time when you were in university where you got to know Rani.
Yeah.
And you fell in love with him.
Yeah.
We interviewed Rani here, so his story people can listen to. But tell us, how did you get to know him, your side of the story?
I can start. I get to know him when we study in high school. So that was a short period of time that I get to know him. And at that time, he was not a good student. So that's funny because I love to study. I love to invest my time in study. So somehow when looking to a partner, I want that he can be more like educated, right? He can invest his time in education. But in that time, I did not see Rani at all. So, and we were not like really in relationship. We just get to know each other, like just seeing face to face, very short. So at that time, we didn't really have like feeling to each other. So right after that, after I finished high school, so I get to meet him again in the university, and it surprised me that I met him at university. And then we didn't really talk at the beginning, but somehow I feel like, oh, I knew him because we were together in high school. And at the beginning of the university, we didn't really talk a lot, so we just know each other. But when I came to ICF, that really even surprised me, like thinking that, oh, this man like believe in Jesus. Like he really changed his life completely, right? From a boy where like he doesn't love to study and he was like always hang out with gangsters and so on. So when I get to meet him at ICF again, that surprised me, and I could see the way how he talked, the way how he lived his life is very different. And
Is this what you see how Jesus changed
yes,
his life?
Yeah.
How did Jesus change your life?
I think Jesus changed my life from a shy girl where I had no confidence in myself, and I think I got to know Jesus like long times ago, but I didn't really like believe in him. So I think I truly believe in him, and I think I got my faith invested more is when I came to ICF, because that's where I feel more the presence of God. That's where I can invest more my talent in God. I never know that I could sing, but when I came to ICF, God used me in this gift, and he gave me like a God-given potential where I have never known that I could sing. So now when I look back, like the life before I believing in Jesus and the life that I believing in Jesus now is completely different. And the way how I think is also different, because I feel like I have God who always like have a good plan for me, and I don't have to worry of anything. I don't have to afraid of the future because of the situation I was in the past.
Yes,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that, because I remember when you came in, Rani was playing the guitar, and we gave you a microphone, and then I remember the first time you started to sing, we were all like, wow, this is the best,
told
voice,
me.
in Cambodia, in ICF.
Yeah.
I mean, you were maybe also the only one, but you were the best.
Thank
and
you.
still amazing voice,
Mm-hmm.
and we still love to hear you sing. How did ICF change your life?
For me, have been it's a privilege for me to join this church organization for the past 7 years, and for me, I think like ICF really like changed my life or really impact my life a lot. So I can narrow down, because if I could say about ICF, there are many things I could say, but I just want to point out 3 main things that ICF really impacted in my life. So the first thing is my belief, my faith, my belief in Christ. Like I shared earlier, that I really got to believe God truly here in ICF, that I really could invest in my talents, and that in singing as a worship leader, I could have the opportunity to lead hundreds of people every weekend. Yes. So that's where ICF really helped me to be in this journey. And second, I think it's my loving career in the HR department. I remember I came in not having much experience in the works, but ICF leader really take me in, hold my hand, and really invest time in me. And
I remember Matt was really excited to teach you, and I know he invested a lot of time, which really flourished.
Yeah.
So you love the job that you're doing now in HR.
Yeah, I do really love, because I think, yeah, that just brought me to experience like the world more, like how, yeah. So yeah.
And what's the third thing?
The third thing is, I think, my love relationship with my husband. I think we get strong relationship because I think ICF really take a big role in this part, because they always like relationship classes provided. They're like personal talks, and they always have like following up with us as a couple. So I think that's where like our relationship starts stronger and stronger, and they really helped me to build relationship with my husband.
So you got rid of that fear
Yeah.
of a family that is broken and
Yeah.
parents that don't love each other. You have now a beautiful daughter, Anna.
Yeah.
And I see you as a couple raising that child as role models. You two are great examples for the next generation that grows up and needs a role model. How do we do it? How do we raise a kid? That the kid is not only has everything that it needs, but it also has the Spirit of God. And I love the way you guys are doing it. And, you know, even if we come from a broken home,
Yeah.
if God can heal us and give us a new perspective, I believe this is what you're living out now.
Yeah.
A new life, a new relationship, a new marriage.
Yeah.
I remember when you guys got married. You know, you were
Yeah.
one of these couples that in ICF everybody knew. Both of you were on staff.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the wedding.
It was a beautiful wedding. We had we made our wedding in Christian ways. I grew up not in a Christian families, but when I get my own family, and we all believe in Jesus. So when we did our wedding, we kind of first it was a little bit challenge, because we want to do it in a Christian way, and I have to go and tell my parent that I don't want the wedding like a Buddhist wedding, but I want a Christian wedding. And that was a little bit challenge at the beginning, but I think as me and Rani, we were like strong in our faith, and we believe that we can do this. So before we get married, and we planned out everything, and then we just go to our parent and tell them this is what we want. And because we believing in Jesus, so we want to have a wedding where we honor God, right? And normally in Cambodia, when you do the wedding, the parent always organizing, preparing for you. But in our case, we both like saving up our own money, and we share the money, and we also do the wedding by our own. So we organize everything. We have our friends help. So for us, we really want to honor the parents, so that we tell them what we want to do, and we also invite them for our wedding as well.
Very good.
And they really honored to be part of this wedding.
Great.
Yeah.
And God can use weddings and
Yeah.
things like that to really reach out. So you grew up in a Buddhist house, and when you became a Christian, we prayed for your parents, especially for your mom, I remember. And then you invited her to come. How was that first time when she came to ICF? Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was nervous, absolutely. But I think because my wife, like, she has a lot of struggle in life. So I really want to bring her out of that situation where she can somehow find Jesus, where I also experience God as well. So I feel a shift in the experience that I'm having. So in that case, in that moment, I really say, oh, I want my mom to get out of that and invite her to come to church. So the only thing that I can invite her is a Christmas, because ICF always celebrate Christmas every year, and there always like a big things going on. So it's a good chance for me to invite her. So I decided to get her to the church, and I told her I will go and pick her up to the church.
Yeah.
And then she came, and she saw me singing, and she's surprised that I could sing on stage. And I think she doesn't feel like hated that I believe in Jesus. And at the beginning, she also not really like say, okay, I want to believe. You know, it's more like an experience for her, and also it's a new thing where she never been experienced before as well.
And then what happened over the years?
Over the year, which I think me as myself, like trying to preach to my parents to believe in Jesus, this is very difficult, and I found it very challenging. So one day I decided to invite a caseworker, like he very good in preaching, like talking to new believers. So I decided to bring him in and then talk to my mom, and they really got together very well. And and my mom really, like at that time, she really believed in Buddhist, and she was like everything in our home, she has like altar, she worship and so on. So right after the friend, our staff, they get into the home, like they come visit often and often. So she somehow felt different, and then she felt like, okay, she want to give up all those things. So one day she decided to quit, and then she like burned down all, like, what do you say, the altars and so on. And she said, yeah, I want to believe in Jesus. And the thing is that we give her the Bible, and we also give her the radio Bible where she could listen. So she, at that time, she listened like every morning, the Bible radio that we give out.
Right. And, you know, it's probably amazing to see the change in your mom. From a Buddhist to a Christian, the same change that you did. Oh man, that's so beautiful. Let me ask you about your future. You know, how do you see yourself in the next 5 or 10 years from now?
I think so. Starting from this year on, I think me and especially my husband, we feel God calls to do a mission. So we want to start ICF in another location, because me and Rani, we kind of got experience, and we grew in ICF, and we see the environment where we want to do this in the future. So this year was a special year, because I think we feel called somehow, but it never got confirmed by God really. But this year is a bit special that, okay, we as a couple, as a husband and wife, we want to do this, and we want to invest our talent and gift that God gave us to do this mission.
Yes, I mean it's like you know, stepping out of the boat, and you don't know, you know, if it will work or not. I remember that when I did that for the first time. You never know how it is, but what you and Rani have together, that is so powerful. And I believe that God has great things for you. I am really excited to see you build up other people, build up another ICF location. That's so beautiful. Thank you very much, Sombo, for sharing your story. And thank you for watching, liking, and sharing this video to your friends that need to hear stories from Cambodia. And I hope to see you next time in our ICF Cambodia podcast.